So, most people who are using Grok right now are completely missing out on what xAI just quietly dropped. See, Grok 4.2 isn't just another update or a little patch. No, it's a fundamentally different architecture. And I think you're going to be pretty surprised by what's actually going on under the hood. Okay, let that sink in for a second. This is the core idea we're going to unpack today. Instead of one AI just spitting out an answer, Grok gives you a whole team of four, and they literally argue it out first. So today, we're going to break down exactly how that works, how you can actually use it, and of course, what it's going to cost you. Here's the game plan for this explainer. We'll kick things off with what makes this a totally new kind of AI. Then we'll walk through getting API access, break down the real costs, and the hidden ones. After that, I'll show you how to master its tools, and finally, we'll talk about its current limitations and what's next. All right, first up, let's unpack this society of mind idea. And I promise, this isn't just some clever marketing slogan. It really is a huge architectural shift from what we're used to seeing from, the other big players in AI. This slide pretty much says it all. Over on the left, you've got the traditional single-brain approach. Think GPT, Gemini, or Claude. You ask a question, and one model gives you one answer. Simple. But on the right, that's Grok 4.2. Every single query you send spins up a team of four specialized agents that actually debate the answer before you ever see it. And here's the team. You've got Grok, who's kind of the captain, coordinating the whole thing. Then there's Harper, the research and fact specialist. Benjamin is your go-to for math and logic. And Lucas brings in the creative thinking and makes sure the user experience is balanced. And they don't just, divide up the work. They actively critique, they fact-check, and they push back on each other's ideas. So here's the magic. It's this built-in contrarian approach. These agents are designed to catch each other's mistakes before the answer gets to you. The captain then pulls together this pressure-tested result, which leads to a massive reduction in hallucinations and way stronger reasoning, especially on those really complex problems. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Running four agents must be crazy expensive, right? Well, surprisingly, the compute overhead is only about 1.5 to 2.5 times that of a single model. And that's because all four agents share the same underlying weights and context window. So you're not running four totally separate models. It's more like one model with four distinct personalities. Okay, enough of the theory, let's get practical. How do you actually get your hands on this thing? If you're a developer or just an enthusiast, this next part will walk you right through getting off the waitlist and making your very first API call. So right now, Grok 4.2 is still in a limited beta. So the first step for subscribers is to head over to the x.ai docs and join the waitlist. Once you're in, it's pretty straightforward. You create an account in the xAI console, you generate an API key, and then you just store it as an environment variable called xapp_key. Easy enough. And the really good news is that integration is super simple. There's a native Python SDK, built-in support in the Vercel AI SDK for JavaScript, and get this, it's fully compatible with OpenAI's SDK. All you got to do is change the base URL and plug in your xAI key. You don't have to change any other code. Okay, listen up, because this is a huge tip you absolutely cannot ignore. Since the agent mode involves some pretty heavy reasoning that can take a while, you have to set your request timeout high. I mean, xAI's own documentation recommends something like 3,600 seconds. If you skip this, you're just going to get timeout errors and burn through your credits on those more complex tasks. All right, let's talk about the money. This is the part that can really catch developers by surprise. So it's super important to understand all the little nuances of Grok's pricing, which, by the way, goes way beyond just tokens. So, Grok basically has two main tiers. You've got Grok 4.1 Fast, which is your workhorse for, say, 80% of your everyday tasks, and it's priced pretty reasonably. But then you have standard Grok 4, the one with the agent mode, and that is a significant price jump. xAI themselves recommend saving this one for the really complex, multifaceted stuff, where you need that deep reasoning. And wow, this chart really puts that cost into perspective. Just look at the output cost for the standard model, $15 per 1,000 tokens, compared to just 50 cents for the fast model. That is a 30 times increase. So choosing the right model for the job is absolutely critical if you want to keep your budget in check. But wait, there's more. And this is the part people often miss. The tools cost extra. On top of your token pricing, using built-in tools like web search or code execution adds a whole separate fee for every 1,000 calls you make. This is a super important detail to factor into your cost projections. Now, to help those costs on really big jobs, xAI rolled out a batch API. It basically cuts your token costs in half, but there's a catch. It is not for real-time apps. Results can take up to 24 hours. So it's perfect for things like nightly data processing or, bulk analysis. Okay, now that we've got a handle on the costs, let's get to the fun stuff, how to unlock this model's full power. This is where we dive into the advanced usage with its toolset, function calling, and memory features. So you've got two main ways to use tools here. On the left, you have the built-in stuff like web search. You basically just flip a switch in your API request, and xAI handles everything on their end. But on the right, you can define your own custom tools using function calling, and this gives you a ton of flexibility to connect to your own databases or internal APIs. Here are a few pro tips to get you started. First, be super explicit in your prompting. You can even check out xAI's official prompts on GitHub for some good examples. Second, make sure to use the previous response ID for stateful memory. It lets you continue conversations, and any cache tokens are totally free. And for custom knowledge, you can upload data to an xAI collection, their built-in vector database, to create a really powerful RAG setup with almost no effort. And this is absolutely crucial for any app where accuracy is important. Always enable inline citations. This feature gives you markdown links for every single factual claim, letting you trace the information right back to its source URL. It is a total game changer for building trust and verifiability into your applications. Look, no technology is perfect, right? So to wrap this up, we need to take a transparent look at the model's current drawbacks. It's just as important to understand the limitations as it is to understand the potential. So here are the main things you need to keep in mind. The knowledge cutoff is November 2024, which means you have to use the web search tool for anything recent. The agent mode is powerful, yes, but it's slower. It adds latency. Hallucinations are way down, but they're not completely gone. And finally, remember, it's still in a limited beta, so things might change. And that really brings us to the big final question. This whole idea of a model pressure testing its own answers through an internal debate, it's a really fascinating architectural bet. It's a totally different path from what other major labs are doing. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Is this multi-agent contrarian approach the future of reliable AI reasoning?